It's time to share secrets and insights from fellow entrepreneurs. If you're looking to grow or start a business and you're a game changer, then keep listening to Avanti Entrepreneur for great advice from your host, Dave Mammano, America's entrepreneur coach.
Hey, Avanti Tribe, Dave Mammano here. Just want to thank our sponsor, Paychex. You know, Paychex, they make it simple for businesses of all sizes to pay and manage their team. They make payroll easy with employee pay options, including direct deposit, checks, pay cards, and so much more. Founded over 4 decades ago to relieve the complexity of running a business so that the owners can focus on what matters most. Above all else, and more than any other company, Paychex makes it simple. Visit AvantiEntrepreneurGroup.com. Go to our partner link and check them out. They're offering you a free month of payroll just for giving them a shot as an Avanti Tribe member. Give them a shot, folks. They really help this podcast to be possible. Really appreciate Paychex. Now, enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Dave Mammano, your host, and we are here to help achievers and business owners and leaders move forward so that they can reach their potential. I do this by interviewing incredible business movers and shakers and impactors, like my guest today, Anese Cavanaugh. Anese, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
I am so happy. We go back. I'm going to read your bio, and our Avanti listeners are going to hear how far we go back, which we just in our pre-talk realized is about 10 years. How do you like that?
Gosh, it is 10 years. Oh my gosh. Right. You're right. 10 years.
10 big years. So Anese, you have a great bio. So Anese Cavanaugh is devoted to helping people show up and bring their best selves to the table in order to create significant positive impact in their lives. She is the creator of the IEP Method, Intentional Energetic Presence, an advisor and thinking partner to leaders and organizations around the world, and author of Contagious Culture. Show up, set the tone, and intentionally create an organization that thrives. As a leading voice on intention, energy, and presence in leadership and culture, Anese helps people unlock their greater leadership potential, collaborate more inspiringly, create more openly, intuit more bravely, and lead more joyfully and effectively. Top innovators and executives in companies like IDEO, Zingerman, Cooper, GM Financial, Vistaprint, 15.5, Fitbit, Nike, Kaiser Permanente, and others have engaged with Anese to strengthen their health and maximize their leadership impact and optimize their company culture. In addition to appearing in publications like the Harvard Business Review, the Huffington Post, CEO.com, and the New York Times, Anese writes for Inc.com and her column Showing Up. And she has just published her most recent book called The Leader You Will Be, an invitation. It's a leadership storybook, and is currently working on her next book, Contagious You. Unlock your incredible power to influence, lead, and create the impact you want, coming out in the fall of 2019. That is just so you, Anese. You are just so full of love, and there's so many words in here that describe you. I feel like I'm describing your personality. Brave, joyful, open, inspiring, energy, having presence, intentional. I mean, I just described like your personality. So this is a great bio, and I love it, love it, love it. Tell us, I know a lot about you. So I'll tell our listeners right now, we met almost 10 years ago because we were at the first meeting, the kickoff meeting at Zingerman's Zing Train. And it was a kickoff meeting for the Small Giants community based on the book by our hero, one of our heroes, Bo Burlingham, who wrote the book called Small Giants. It's changed my business life and your business life. And we all, really became big fans of the book and created a movement that day, started by Paul Spiegelman. And we all got together and created the Small Giants community, which still exists today. So we could talk more about that. We've had a lot of Small Giants people on the podcast, so my listeners are somewhat familiar with Small Giants, so we could dig into deep a little bit about that. But Anese, tell us about your journey, and what were you doing before all this, and how what led to you becoming an entrepreneur yourself, and your beautiful mission of helping people to I'm going to say pause to really reflect and think about being more intentional with their path forward?
Well, I'm going to pause.
Yes.
And I'm going to just say, thank you for your kind words.
Absolutely. Coming from the heart. Coming from the heart.
Oh God, I know that. Boy, do I know that. You do. You come from the heart, and every time, you and I haven't seen each other in a long time, but I will say every time I get face to face with you, and there you are. I'm just incredibly grateful for your heart. So thank you for those kind words.
Absolutely.
I cannot believe we've almost known each other for a decade. A decade.
I know. A decade.
And so what I was doing before, so I started this business and this body of work in 2002. And before that, I was working with, I was doing a bunch of different things, but before that I was working for other people. I was working in health and productivity. I was working with athletes. My background was in kinesiology. I was doing, I worked in the fitness industry for a while. I worked in healthcare. And then I had my first child in 2000 and decided after that I was never going to work again with anybody, for anybody. And basically, that lasted about a year and a half. And then when I started to really miss all the different things I'd done in my life, like I missed my career, but I didn't want to go and work for anybody else anymore. I started to sit and think about what would be most meaningful to me, that would be worth me getting away from my child for. Like what could I be doing with my life that would be so purpose focused and would pull all the best parts of me into one job? And I basically created, I've told this story a couple times, but I basically created my job description, all the favorite things I'd ever done. I created a job description on Post-its sitting in the front seat of my Durango while my son was taking a nap in the back. And we all know, you have kids, like we know we don't wake up a sleeping baby. So while I sat in the car writing up this different job description, by the time I was done, I had this beautiful description of all the things I loved doing in my life and with my career, that if I could do them every single day, I would feel amazing. And then when I looked at it, I went, okay, great, I want that job, but that job didn't exist, so I created a company out of it.
Love it. Love it. So you paused. Your son was taking a nap and you paused. That's, and that's, I just thought about that when I was introducing you, but I do feel like when I talk to you, you make me pause in a good way. You make me just kind of like think about, I would say my life and how do I want to go forward? What's going well? What's not going well? And just really kind of like reassess where I am whenever I hear you speak or read your content. You have some incredible energy that is just, I'm going to say it's like a deep energy that gets me thinking about going a little bit more with my life and taking a break to think about that. Does that make sense? Do you feel like you do that?
Yes, I do. And it's a beautiful reflection. I did pause. I paused in that car. I paused for that year, a little bit over the year when I had him. For anybody that's had children, it's like there's this, at least for me, there was this magical moment where I didn't want to do anything else but just be with him. And so I had the luxury of actually being able to be home with him for a while and to just see this little human being. And when I look at that year and a half of my life, that was a huge pause, which I think prepared me to really look at what did I want my life to be about and what is the impact I actually wanted to have on the world that my son would be growing up in and be a part of. So there's a lot of pauses, and I had never thought about that period of time as a pause. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So I want to hear, so you've got all this great, energy and great skills and talents to help people in a very unique way. How have you made a business out of this? What do you do to help people and help businesses kind of, really be the best they can be?
Oh, sure. I love that question. So I created this methodology. I created the IEP Method, Intentional Energetic Presence. And what happened was basically for the first couple of years of my business, I started it super part-time. It was almost like I would do it when Jake was napping. When my second baby was born, I would do it, very, very part-time. And I just started working with people one-on-one and doing a lot of coaching. And what I was working with them in was around leadership development. It was around presence and how they showed up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in 2007, 2008, 2009, I started to realize that there was a method to the madness. There was a way that I was doing this work with people that was getting them different kinds of results than traditional leadership development. And I started to get feedback from in 2007, when I started to notice the results that we were getting, I realized like we had something really special here. And my kids were of the age where I felt confident enough in my own business expertise, but then also confident enough in my parenting expertise that as if there was ever such a thing as expertise, but I felt confident enough that I could do both. And we really started to take the business more full time. And what we realized was that there was a method. And as I started to pull, we had clients that were telling us, like, Anese, what you're doing is very different than traditional leadership development. Like, you almost can't call it leadership development because there's something that you do that is very unique, that is creating connection and, safe space for vulnerability and ultimately better leadership results by the way that people are showing up after they work with you. And so after that, Dave, I basically, and this would have been around the time that I met you in 2009, I started to hire people to follow me around and to kind of pull apart what was I doing, because I was so close to it. To me, it was just like, well, this is just how you do it, And so I had people, they call it modeling, where they would pull apart what I was doing. And then from that, we started to look at all the themes that were getting these results. We were actually able to turn it into an actual methodology. So that methodology now has been such that, I don't work with as many people privately anymore, but we've changed it into training programs. So we'll do we'll do a couple events a year where people will come to do the IEP method for a couple days. I'll go in and I'll consult with organizations around their cultural health and productivity. And what we're using is the IEP method to really create cultural change inside the company. And then the other piece that we're doing that I'm really, really excited about right now is, in the last 4 years, we've started what's called stewardship. So I basically train other people in different industries and in different organizations to teach the IEP method, and then they bring it back to their companies and their industries, and then they make it work for them, and then the work continues to grow. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening in there, but that's kind of some of the high notes that I'm thinking of as I answer this question.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, and obviously doing it that way, it's going to become more exponential, and it doesn't all just rely on you, right? I mean, you're creating a more of a system that can go beyond you when you retire. Ideally, it's still going to be happening, right?
That's
going to be a long time.
Well, yes, it'll be a long time if ever. I can't imagine ever not doing this, and it's nice to have the option, right? So I think there's the business side of it, but there's also the impact side of it, because what I really started to get clear about in 2012 was me working with people one-on-one was not scalable. Even me doing these trainings and starting to go in and advise in a larger capacity was not scalable. And so we really had to look at, how do we make this work grow with other people teaching it, but then also industry specific, because there's some, we work with education, we work with healthcare, we work with law enforcement. We just started doing some work with last year, so it really does have to be, the common thread is it's human beings that want to have more impact and feel really good doing it. But there's also a way that I can be more helpful to the work if I let it go and let it scale out, so that these stewards can go and really make it work in their industries. And so that was the other piece, was not just scaling the business from a revenue standpoint, but also from an impact standpoint. When I'm gone off this planet, I want this work going way, way, way beyond me.
That's fantastic. What do you see in a lot of workplace cultures in today's world that needs, where you go in and kind of help them to grow to that next level and improve?
It's so simple, it's probably going to irritate people. What I see is a lack of presence. It sounds so obvious and so simple, and it's so true. There's a lack of presence. There's a lack of presence, and I'll speak for all of us. There's a lack of presence in our, just within our bodies, a lack of presence as into what we're thinking about things, how we feel, how we regard other human beings. There's a lack of presence around something as simple as time integrity, agreements, things that we want. It's, when I talk about presence, a lot of times people think about this work and they go, oh, it's just about being present. I'm just being more mindful. And yes, that's definitely a piece of it. But I also integrate in the methodology our self-care and taking incredibly good care of ourselves, everything from our physical body to the way we talk to ourselves. like really being present to that, because the more present and I can be and the more I take care of myself, the stronger my, what I call energetic field becomes. And then I can actually stand incredibly present in my organization and see, how do I want to respond to this? How do I want to make a choice about this? What do I want my impact to be here? And oh, by the way, what is the impact I'm actually having? And so that's usually where we start, is we start with the simplest thing of, what's your presence? And what is the energy that you're putting out to the world? What's the vibe you put out? And oh, by the way, what's the vibe you're creating for yourself internally, and how you take care of yourself, which ultimately creates the vibe you put out. So it's that simple. It's just looking at how we show up.
I love that. I feel like, especially in the workplace, something that missing a lot. We're talking about pausing, but people just taking a break to think. I actually, I created over the weekend a new template weekly schedule for myself. I want to, instead of just winging it, I want to kind of block what I'm going to do, every day. So, and then, so what I did actually every week is I scheduled 2 times, and I schedule it to think. Like, so Wednesday at 8 a.m. and Saturday at 8 a.m., I'm going to go in a quiet place, and I'm going to, it's going to be no technology. I'm going to bring a notebook.
Nice.
And at least for half an hour, I'm just going to do nothing, as Rob Dubay would say. Our friend Rob Dubay has the Do Nothing podcast in Movement, but it's basically just, I just want to sit there, and I just want to, do nothing. And I want to think. I want to think about my life, my family, my business, my health, and take some notes on what I'm experiencing and what I can do to get even better. And maybe I'll have some great ideas, right? Just once again, getting back to that pause, because we're go, 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 right? And it's like, there's a constant screen, right, to occupy our time, whether it's a TV, a computer, a phone, etc., an iPad. And then we just keep busy occupying with ourselves, because it's almost like we're scared of being alone and doing nothing, right? I know you're not, but I think a lot of people are. And just to take that deep breath and breathe a little bit, right?
Oh, well, absolutely. And I think you're talking about the human condition. And I have my version of that too, where I go really, really fast, and I have to catch myself and go, whoa, 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 Anese, take a breath. Why are you moving so fast? Where is this coming from? What's the intention you have in moving so quickly? And usually there's not a conscious intention around moving quickly. And so I bump up against that all the time. And I think, back to your original question about what are some of the things I see in organizations, it's tying all this together. It's the lack of presence and that pause, but there's also the lack of intentionality about what they're trying to create, which you're getting done on Saturday mornings and Wednesdays, or whenever you're doing your thinking time. There's the lack of energy in terms of taking care of themselves and having the energy and the stamina to do that. And then with that, being responsible for the energy they're putting out, because that, a lot of times when we're moving so quickly, we're having unintended impact on the people around us. And it creates such a negative effect that actually takes more energy, because now I've got to clean that up. And so then that goes with, of course, presence. And
then at some point you just kind of crash, right?
Just crash. And then if you think about, I think I just saw this last week, I was working with a group, and the leader of the group came in 10 minutes late to the meeting. We'd already started. He rushed in. Oh my God, I just had that other meeting. And the group is like in their process, and he comes in and he sits down quietly and goes, sorry. Well, the impact of that, of him just coming in late to that meeting, that's got an energetic impact. The impact then of him sitting in the meeting, feeling bad that he was late, you can feel that too. So that's having energetic impact, so it's just, if I think if we could all just take a moment and look at, how is it that I'm showing up? What is it that I'm creating for people around me? And how is the way I'm taking care of myself and my own presence within myself, how is that affecting that? If we could get those 2 questions, we have a very different culture. And that's the thing that we see with culture, is people always think that culture is created outside of themselves, but really we're creating a culture. I create the culture that I want to be a part of, or not, every single day in every single moment, by the way that I show up. So presence and pause. And
it's very intentional. I like you're saying the word intentional so much, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they're, and I'm guilty of it. We kind of are very careless with our bandwidth, right? We're pleasers. We say yes. We meet for coffee, lunch, breakfast, blah, 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 and before you know, like, what did I get? What did I do today? And I think we have to be very guarded and intentional about our bandwidth because there's only so much. We only have so much wattage, right? And before you know it, we can use it all up. And I think it's very important. I agree with you. I'm very intentional, and this just comes natural to me because I think maybe it's selfish because it makes me feel good. But whenever I leave the room with somebody, I'm hoping that they feel better than they did before they were talking to me. I want to uplift people. I want them to be like, oh, I love Dave Mammano, right? That was great. He made me feel so special, you know? And it's coming from a good place. I mean, I truly enjoy doing that to people, and it's sincere, right? I'm always trying to find the good attributes of them and you know, bringing those up somehow in conversation. But at the end of the day, it makes me feel good too. So it's a win-win, right?
Well, and it's contagious. So by you showing, I love the example you just gave, because by you showing up in that room in a way that your energetic presence is something that is contributory to what's happening in the room, I guarantee you when people are experiencing your energetic presence and it's positive and it feels good and you're in service of, and your intention is to have people feeling better, that is contagious. Because the minute I feel that from you, now I'm uplifted and now I'm going to show up that way. And then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It works the exact same opposite way, or the exact opposite way, in terms of you could walk in the room, Dave, and you could be that guy, the guy that walks in the room and people go, oh, he's here. Like we all know those people that walk into a room or we see them on our calendar invite and our energy drops instantly because they're the lowest vibration in the room. And that lowest vibe is also totally contagious. So what I love about what you're sharing with me is you're being intentional before you even walk in the room, that you want to be high vibration, contagious, positively contagious versus low vibration and bringing the whole room down.
Oh yeah, and I got to be careful, right? I mean, you know, my book 4 years ago that came out called "Make Love in the Workplace."
Right.
I don't know if I could have that title today, but you know me, that's just me. Like I'm a hugger. I'm all about, you know, love and compassion. So I might have to, you know, in today's world, might have to rethink that title. But if you know me, you know what I meant, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
How about compassion in the workplace? Is that something you're seeing a lot of more than you did 10 years ago or not?
That's a good question. Yeah, I am. I'm seeing more compassion. I'm seeing more vulnerability. I am ironically also seeing more burnout, people being really, really busy. And ironically, I think that compassion and burnout are compassion is the antidote, one of the antidotes to burnout. And that compassion has to start with self-compassion, you know, compassion for myself, but then also compassion for you. The more I can access compassion, the easier it is to look at what's happening that's creating the burnout. So that's kind of as you're asking this question, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I do see more compassion. I also see more busyness and burnout. So if I can get people more present and being compassionate with themselves and each other, then that does seem to impact the other side as well.
Yeah, I agree. I posted a quote today on my social media from the Dalai Lama that, you know, if you want to make someone else happy, show compassion. If you want to make yourself happy, show compassion. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I've really noticed, Dave, especially this last year, has been in the rooms I've been in, the attention around self-kindness. Really, really looking at when we look at the IEP method, one of the components is building the strongest energetic foundation possible. And the way that you do that is by your self-care, you know, the food that you eat, your environment, it's your thinking, it's your emotional support, it's your like there's a bunch of different things that are in that element. But one of the things that's in there that's most important, and I'm seeing a real increase in discussion and also permission around this in organizations and with humans, period, is this idea around self-kindness. You know, that one of the best forms of self-care that we can have is to be kind to ourselves. And what's funny is it doesn't take any more time. You know, people will often go, oh, I don't have time to do this IEP stuff. I don't have time for self-care. Well, it doesn't take me any more time to be nice to myself in my head or to be a jerk to myself. It's the same amount of time, but my results are going to be much better if I can be kind. So that's something that I'm really seeing, is this idea around how do I really take that pause So I can look at how I'm talking to myself and how I'm actually exhausting myself because of the stories I'm making up, how I'm making myself wrong, the judgments I have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if we can get aware of that, we're winning, because now we have awareness. Awareness to me is about 70% of this work. 70% of the IEP work is an awareness. The other 30% is what you choose to do with it. That's the big one.
Yep. Well, and I love it. And you're getting, what you're doing is you're going back to an ancient principle that, what you feed your brain, you become, right? You become what you think about. A lot of different ways to say it. And it is amazing when you think about it that we 100% have the power to program everything, right? It's self-talk, what we're telling ourselves, like you said, every day. And it's, the power of habit. After a while, when you're, telling yourself these things, wow, they become reality, right? And, but conversely too, you tell yourself you suck every day, guess what? You're going to suck after a while.
Okay. All right. So this is so fun. So for the next book, for Contagious You, we're putting more science into it. And one of the chapters is more neuroscience. And I'm partnering with somebody from UCSF to really look at what's happening with the brain. And there's a ton of other research on this. So this is not new information, probably for a lot of people, but in every moment we have a choice point. We have a choice point. I have a choice point right now to assume good or assume bad, to be nice to myself or to be a jerk, to complain or to make a request. There's a choice point in every single moment. The more I choose either one of those, my brain develops to make that stronger. So the neurons, everything that's going on, I'm going to butcher all the science, I promise you. But everything that's going on in my brain is basically, it's learning from what I choose, and then it makes that part of my brain stronger. And so especially before I go to bed at night, if I can go to bed in a state of gratitude or in a positive state while I'm sleeping and my brain's doing all of its cleanup, it's making that part of me stronger so that I can access that thinking faster and becomes a habit. Just like if I go to sleep and I'm all irritated and I'm complaining everything, my brain's like, ooh, she's really good at being miserable. Let's make her more so, So there's scientific proof now around like what's actually happening. And it's not just like this woo-woo power of presence and power of positive thinking. Like it's for real.
It's science. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, Joan Rivers of all people said something at an interview, I think with Johnny Carson. And she said, before she goes to sleep every night, her head hits the pillow. She thinks of 3 things that she's grateful for. Oh. And I'm like, that's great. So I strive to do that every night. Cause you're right. It's a great way to kind of drift off into dreamland with some great positive, grateful thoughts. So,
yeah.
So Anese, you're the queen of intentionality. I'm going to call you that. Maybe that's your new title, queen of intentionality. But what are some of the self-care things that you do daily, weekly, et cetera, so that you could be the best Anese that you possibly can be?
Oh, thank you for that. And thank you for the question too. So I am crazy about my sleep. I really pay attention to my sleep. I am very intentional about my sleep. So even before I go to bed at night, I set an intention to sleep really, really well. And I also set an intention that anything that I'm struggling with or trying to figure out, that I have wisdom in the morning. Doesn't always happen. And more often than not, it does. So that's part of my, I'm just thinking about, the 3 gratitude things before I go to bed. That's part of mine is I want to sleep really well. I'm going to nourish my body, and anything I'm struggling with is going to be clear to me in the morning. So that helps me.
So let me pause right there for a sec. So a lot of people, they get in their 40s and 50s, and the whole 8-hour a night thing doesn't happen anymore, right? Waking up at 2 and 3 and blah blah blah. So what are some of the things that you do to help ensure that you have a great, rich night's sleep?
So I don't work before I go to bed, and I'm not on my phone before I go to bed. I generally won't watch TV or do anything that's going to distract me before I go to bed. But I'm going to now contradict myself, because I also can find it very peaceful to be reading an article, even online, on my phone before I go to bed, which I know is not the best, but for me personally, it works. The other thing is that I sleep pretty consistently. So sleeping is one of my superpowers, ironically. It was not always this way since I really started practicing this work. I would say, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, sleeping has become a superpower. So I will go to bed as close as possible to the same time every night.
Which is what?
Which is, for me, it's around 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I love that. And then I love waking up. I've noticed for my body, David, it's, or Dave, I always want to call you David.
Well, David is, on my birth certificate, but Dave is fine as well.
I don't know why. I always want to call you David. I noticed for me, if I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, that's a pretty good time for me to wake up. But if I don't wake up then, I need until 5:30. So anything in the middle between 4 and 5:30, if I wake up, I'm probably a little bit groggy. Like it doesn't work for me. But if I can get that one more sleep cycle in, 5:30 is beautiful. So I shoot for 7 to 8 hours a night. On the weekends, I let myself sleep as long as I want to, and I still usually wake up around 6. Other things that I'll do is, my nutrition is really good. I notice if my nutrition is not good, my sleep is not good. My hydration is really good. I exercise.
You meditate?
I meditate. I meditate for sure. I think one of the reasons why I might sleep really well is I'm very clean and clear in my conscious. Like I feel good when I go to sleep. I'm not worrying about things. If I am worrying about things, I'm going to worry about them at that 4 o'clock mark. And then I call it the worry hour.
Yep. Yeah. But tell me more about your eating habits. Are you vegetarian, vegan, or do you just eat pretty healthy?
I eat pretty healthy. I go back and forth. I did the ketogenic diet for a while. I did it for about 8 months, a couple of years ago. I really actually liked that for me, but my body got to a point where it was like, don't like it anymore. So I would say I pretty much now am paleo. I do paleo style eating. And then I'm a huge fan. Anybody that knows me or has followed me or been in one of our sessions knows I'm a huge fan of bulletproof coffee. So I do my coffee in the morning with my ghee and my brain octane oil, and that keeps me going. So.
And that I hear great things about that. That makes a big difference, huh?
Yes, it makes a huge difference for me. And intermittent fasting, so basically I will not eat anymore after like 7 o'clock at night. And then I'll have my bulletproof in the morning, and then I don't eat again usually until about 11 or 12. And so there's a chunk of time. Now, I'm not recommending people do that. What I'm recommending is you check what works for you, because I've gone through different phases and this could stop working for me tomorrow. So it's really being present and intentional with how do I feel? What is my energy like? How am I sleeping? What's the impact I'm having? Am I happy? And if I'm not, really looking at, okay, well, how am I eating? How am I taking care of myself? That's always the first place I'll look. Like, what am I doing to nourish myself or not nourish myself that is ultimately creating the result I'm having?
Yep. Well, I have to tell you, I'm looking at you, if listeners or viewers, I just say, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, Anese looks so, I'm going to say, like, massively vibrant. You've got a great glow about you, and you just look like you are just really happy, which is great to see, and I know that it's just didn't happen. Like, you work at it, right? And I know that you're also someone who is trying to improve every day, and I think that's one of the best things about you, right? So,
thank you, Dave. Thank you. I am really happy. I am. I'm really happy. I feel good. I'm really grateful. I mean, I think there've been tough stuff happens all the time. We just had a major loss in our family about a month ago. It was heartbreaking. I was in the pit. But part of the reason why I can sit here and be so happy now is because I really honored the pit. So that's another piece of self-care is my heart was broken, and allowing myself to have all of my emotions and to really process them and get support around them allows me to then go to the next level of authentic, congruent happiness. So I am happy.
Yeah.
We also just had, I'll tell you this is, nobody knows this yet, but we also just had our very first batch. I just came from, before this, I was on a call with our first batch of certified stewards to be, where we're now not just training stewards, but we're certifying them. And so I'm about to certify our first 2 official IEP stewards who are going to be able to take this work out even further. And so right before I came on this call, we were having a conversation about what that means for them and who they've become and how they're showing up. And so I'm full of warm fuzzies too. So that helps.
I love it. I love the warm fuzzies. And I like how you're calling them stewards. I think that's a great name for them. We have these with Avanti. We have someone start a chapter in their community. We call them the Avanti Regional Director, which is not that sexy, but I like it. But yeah, when someone is leading one of our Avanti peer groups, which is that confidential advisory board experience, We call them the Avanti Peer Group Guide. I like the name guide, steward. Well, it's just a little bit more. I like the description a little bit more, right?
Yeah, well, it implies to me it implies partnership and care and nourishment and holding something as sacred space. That's why I think of it as a guide or a steward. They're holding something and stewarding or guiding content or people or a process or whatever forward with a lot of heart and intention. And so I think we were really intentional with that word, and that we didn't call it train the trainer or trainers or facilitators.
Right.
They're stewards, it's
yep. Very, very Anese-like. I love it. So Anese, I want to wrap it up with, but what I want people to know, I don't want to wrap it up, but I'm going to wrap it up because we, with the manic attention span of entrepreneurs who try to keep these around a half an hour. So I'm honoring that.
Yes.
But if our Avanti entrepreneur listeners want to get in touch with you, buy your book, etc., give me all the details to learn more about how to learn more about you and how to contact you.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so the simplest way to do it that'll also get your people some access to some tools and things that we just put out into the world because we want you guys to have them is to go to IEP.io. So really, really simple, IEP.io. It's virtual presence kit, team presence kit, the IEP sheet, all that stuff. That'll also get you on a list that gets you like information, updates, announcements, that stuff. Other places to look would be just at anesecavanaugh.com. You can go to iepmethod.com, and then I'm out in the world on Twitter at Anese Cavanaugh. I'm at Facebook, IEP Method Anese, Instagram, like I'm all over the place. So, but LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a really good place to get me for email and anything like that. That's usually my social media drug of choice right now, so to speak.
Yep. Yeah, I like LinkedIn too. And folks, all this will be on the show notes at AvantiEntrepreneurGroup.com. You can see a beautiful picture of Anese. You can listen to this podcast over and over again, and all the contact info and links to her website where you can buy her books, etc. will all be there. So Anese, massive thank you for being on the show. Truly appreciate it. I know we've been trying to do this for a little while, and I'm so happy we finally made it happen.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. I know I had to, or didn't have to. I chose to reschedule one in honor of family obligations a while back. So thank you for rescheduling and being gracious about it.
You are worth waiting for.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, I can't wait to see you. Am I going to see you in May?
I will be at the Small Giants Summit. Absolutely. Okay, good. Well, then that's just another reason to go. So there you go. You can see Dave. Absolutely. I have a big hug. I'll have a big hug for you. All and right. If listeners, if you want to learn more about Small Giants, go to smallgiantscommunity.org, Google it, whatever you want to do. Incredible materials and really a lot of what Anese is talking about really sinks in nicely to the Small Giants philosophies and missions. And you could come to the summit in Detroit, and it's just I'm going to say it's the feel-good conference of the year, right? Well, it's lovely. And the people, I think I've been, as we said, since 2009, I think the thing that stood out for me the most at the very beginning with you and with Marissa and Rob and Bo and like all of them is just the care, the humanness of the business leaders in the community. So I love the content, and I always come for the people and all of it. So. Yep, absolutely. And you speak there a lot too. So, and I've seen you speak there, and you always do a great job. Oh, thank you. I know you missed the last one. I did the new book. I did the new poem on stage. It was fun. Was that on video? It's on video. Yeah, it's out there. It was the first time I had memorized it off book. So it's a little, I'm like, you can tell there's a couple points where I'm like, but yeah, it was really fun. It's on video. They put it on their site. All right, cool. I'm going to have to check that out. Well, Anese, thank you again. Appreciate it. I look forward to keeping in touch and seeing you soon. Thank you. And thank you, Avanti listeners, for your time. Always appreciate your time that you give to Avanti. We hope that we're helping you, grow to your next level of potential with your business, and your personal life as well. Make sure to check us out on the web at AvantiEntrepreneurGroup.com for 100+ podcasts, show notes, etc. Plus, we just have a lot of resources to help you grow to your next level. Make it a great day and stay awesome.
Thank you for listening. Head over to AvantiEntrepreneurGroup.com for show notes and more helpful advice from entrepreneurs like you. Continue to find your entrepreneurial rhythm at the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast.